you guys hear that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Then you know.
You ready, Mike? Or
Yeah. Yeah, you heard her.
all right. So, good evening, everybody, or whatever time it is there. Paul,
Hmm.
nice to see everyone. If there's anyone new, uh, I would leave immediately, probably, but stick around, get some laughs. Let's see.
And
All right. Well, I'm going to read a little thing from that pamphlet from Ramana Maharshi. Okay, so he goes like this: You give up this and that of my possessions. If you give up mine, and I instead, all are given up at a stroke. The very seed of possession is lost. Yeah, simple, eh? So this is why we try to emphasize. That's not why, but I just found in my own observations, or in observations, the my transfers a lot of meaning to whatever comes after it. Yeah, and also obviously, conversely, it applies a lot of meaning to what's before it. Yeah, because there's an implying, there's a you that's the owner of my car. Yeah, so this my is like a way. It's almost it's like two lenses that picture. Uh, they both enlarge the pictures, the imaginary pictures on each side. Yeah, so there's this idea of my. He's just basically saying, instead of going through the trees, well, let's not use that. Instead of going through every my possession, my this, my that, just see the possessor of all the possessions. Yeah, it's just such a simple invitation, really. This isn't about becoming a manicurist or a cultivator or a landscaper of all that comes after my, and try to have some kind of value judgment on what's after my. It's just what's before my. Yeah? Is there a possessor of the possessions? Is there a someone who's totally screwed today? Or is there just a narration that there's a someone totally screwed? Are you that someone? Because that narration's being heard or noticed in thousands of people's heads. Yet what it gets inferred or implied isn't a person, it's Paul and Mike and Brandon and John. Yeah? So this is the thing. So the head isn't it's pretty like a stock version of self-centeredness. Yeah, it doesn't have that many upgrades, and it's not AI. I don't feel it doesn't grow. It's just programmed, and so basically, what's happening is being claimed, and a story is written about that, which actually completely underemphasizes what's happening and then emphasizes the imaginary one that's either being done by it or is doing it. Yeah, and so that's all you need to know, because that gives you like a template. So when you're just seeing what's going to happen during the day in the head, that template can drop down, and what it will reveal to you is not what the narration is revealing to you. Yes, you'll see it. You'll see there'll be an awareness of it, and then you'll see the repetition and the pattern of it. And after you see the same pattern in thousands of different appearances of it, you see it has nothing to do with the appearances. And the patterns it really has nothing to do with. It's before, yeah. And so the whole idea obviously isn't getting out of self, it's realizing you're not in self. You see, it's completely different. It's not taking an assumed fact to be a fact and then working with that all the way through. It's stopping all the working all the way through and questioning that. Yeah, just see, is that you? Yeah. Are you talking to yourself? Are you bringing evidence to yourself? No, there isn't. It's a false evidence appearing to false evidence, real. It's appearing real to false evidence. That's what it is. So, I mean, that's why it's beautiful to have this platform, because we don't have any opinion on outside stuff, really. I may have an opinion, but we don't have an opinion. This platform doesn't have an opinion about what's going on outside. It just wants to question the assumptions that lead to all this irritability, restlessness, and discomfort that we seem to live with, and the volume of it and the extent of it. Yeah, it gives volume and length to these imaginary tropes, so to speak, and we're laden with the weight of it, with this word my, I, mine. Yeah, and so what's before that, not what's after. There's tons of opinions about what comes after. What's before? Yeah. Are you listening to a narration about a you, and then there's the assumption that a you is you, so there's a habit of taking itself to be you, and then to some extreme level it turns into a me that guarantees the inability to learn from others, to have any kind of empathy, to put yourselves in other people's shoes, because you'll feel like no one has the thoughts that are having you, really. No one has the feelings. No one does the crazy shit that you do. Yet there's many, many, many. Yeah? It's not unique. So this is what happened when I went into recovery. I didn't know it, but when I was sitting in the presence of this grace of recovery, I felt that terminal uniqueness. It was like a cocoon that I could see through, but it was a cocoon nonetheless, yeah? I could see through it, vision, but it was a cocoon nonetheless, yeah? And I was sort of fucking just short of breath constantly and just suffocating in there. And I truly believed the thoughts that were happening were so unique and so private, no one else would ever be able to understand them. My feelings, there's no way anyone could do justice, yeah, to my feelings, yeah, and my actions, of course, no one did the shit I did. And funny thing was, I was in a place where a lot of people just like me, a basic, like a Ford model, yeah, maybe it has the same chassis, has different bodies, but the same chassis. It drives like a Ford, it smells like a Ford, it turns like a Ford. And then I am sitting with all these Fords, and they start sharing what it's like to be a Ford, to smell like a Ford, to drive like a Ford, to turn like the Ford. And I had to admit, how did they get my Ford, or I'm a Ford? And then the next statement was, as soon as I allowed myself to be all of those Ford qualities I was in complete denial of, when I allowed those, I didn't allow it, they just rushed up and stuck on me. And then I saw, that was the last thing I ever wanted to have occur. Finally arrived on me, and there was a truth-telling, and it led to, and I'm not a Ford, yeah? The Ford trying to say it's not a Ford is more of a Ford. But this way, I ended up by just telling the truth. Yeah, I'm a Ford through and through. Yeah. And then therefore, I'm not one. That was the beautiful thing. And I wasn't going to arrive at that not one until I took the ownership of the false one. Yes? And this is what I feel happens with non-duality. When the mental state claims the message of non-duality, it tries to become a non-self as a self. Yeah, it wants to have free from the responsibilities of a self that the non-self would bring, but you want to have it as a self. Yeah, And you can hear it, and it doesn't go anywhere. And those types, you'd rather tell the person, just go and do service, or watch a, binge a networks thing. Do not read another spiritual book and shit, because there's this beast getting built. By all this information you think is going to lead to a freedom from it, you're reinforcing it. Just like Ramana said, without knowing it, in that condition of taking yourself to be what you're not, your spiritual practices themselves are reinforcing that which you're not, to be you. How are you going to get out of that? The only way is to see you're not that, yeah? Better people than us have tried to get out of it. We think maybe we have in 30 Zooms, 30 squares, there's about, let's say, 340 years of earnest spiritual seeking, yeah? But you could go to other Zooms and they'd have 900 years of, yeah? So basically, people have taken it a lot farther than we have, but thank God there's an emergency brake. You can get off the bus, yeah? When you recognize that which wasn't being recognized by the words of Ramana or Nisargadatta or like Hoang Po, and you get this sudden slap, I mean, the next appropriate response is look around, pull the brake and get off and see what happens, yeah? See what happens if you stop looking for what you are with what you're not. Just see, yeah? What you're not will keep looking for it, but the spirit that's behind it won't be there. You'll see the emptiness of it from a fullness of spirit. You will, yeah? And you'll recognize the greatest words I ever heard are the words of Hoang Po. Whatever can be perceived can't be perceiving. End of story. Well, I don't know. Maybe on a certain day after 8 years of retreat, that which can be perceived will be that which is perceived. And he doesn't say that. He says whatever can be perceived. And I will imagine in any time and in any condition cannot be that which is perceiving. Yeah? Hallelujah. So if the shoe fits, wear it. Yeah? And you won't be wearing it for long. You'll kick them off and you'll chill out to a certain level, at least about this topic. Yeah? And you'll be freed from the slavery of the bondage of self trying to become free as self. Yeah? You'll be free of that. You'll be free of the self trying to get out of self. Yeah? You'll see through it finally. And you know what? It doesn't usually come up for review every 3 months. And your subscription doesn't run out. You don't have to do anything to subscribe to it. It's a fact. Yeah? You've seen a fact, which is a fact no matter if you believe it or not, no matter if you feel it or not, no matter if you think it or not, it's a fact. Yes? You come upon something that's solid, and then there's rest and reliance there. Yeah? And then you are what you've been looking for. Hallelujah. Jesus Christ. Yeah? Because you sure weren't arriving there by looking for it. So thank God it says you are what you've been looking for. Yeah? Hallelujah. You know what I mean? So what would happen? Maybe the looking for it will stop. I don't know. It seems like the natural progression. So So yeah, that's it, eh?
You ready for people?
That's from all those trips to Canada. That's it, eh?
Anybody want to raise their hand?
Hey, Mike, I'm going to say something. Do we ever emphasize the possessions or the my of the possessions? Are we saying you got to give up possessions or just see that there's no my? Yeah? This isn't sacrifice. This isn't martyrdom. It's recognizing there's no long lasting independent entity. Yeah? You're not a noun that may move. You're a verb in and of your nature. Yes? And that which is perceiving in this whole event is not the noun, it's not the object. Yes?
Anu has her hand up. You ready?
Yes, ready.
Okay.
Hey, Paul, what you just said is kind of like cold water about, stop the seeking, drop the seeking. So is it okay to do the seeking if it provides relief on a daily basis, or it just,
Sure. Just use the seeking to see if there's anyone seeking. Yeah, that's all. It's actually better in a way because there's more value put in the seeking, so you'll see a bigger emptiness in the reflection of the seeker. Yeah?
yeah, I have no desire to find myself. Yeah.
What?
I'm not looking to find anything. I just would like some daily relief. So, that's what the practice is for. Is that okay, or I should drop that too?
Totally, it's okay. Yeah? Again, drop it or don't drop it, you can always use it to see who's before the seeking. Yeah? Yeah, and then recognize it's not you, and then the seeking can go on without that added heaviness, yes, of being the seeker. Seeking doesn't imply a seeker. Seeking is claimed to imply a seeker. Yeah? The seeking for relief is not something that you should, it's like throwing the baby out with the bathwater. That's not the message here. We're not trying to go into a spiritual austerity to starve something out. Yeah? Take care of what needs to be taken care of, realizing there's not anyone being taken care of, nor is there anyone taken care of. Yeah? That's all. So you can travel lighter through all this.
Thank you. That makes sense. Thank you.
Please, yes, do not see, this is what the head does with its rigidity. That's why it looks at this message as another form of sacrifice in a way. All right, so I'm not going to be able to take care of myself anymore because I'm not a self. You see it? The insanity of it? Yeah. This is what it does. I mean, the Course in Miracles speaks a lot about that. It says how the head tries to set up, it has to, for anything to have value, there must be sacrifice. But you're inherently valuable. Yeah. Yes? Yeah. So take care of yourself. Fuck. If I knew, let's say, page 58 of a spiritual scripture, if I rubbed it on my left knee, my knee would be doing better. I'd be rubbing it with that page 58 of the scripture. Yeah? So in the same way, things are working for you to allow you to feel a little more less stressful and shit in your physical, emotional, mental, circumstantial conditions. I mean, why? That's the insanity of the head misunderstanding the invitation, yeah? But thank you for putting it out there, because it happens a lot, yeah? It becomes an either or thing. Either I take care of myself or it's not like that at all. Yeah, things just get clearer. Yeah, when you become right-sized, it doesn't mean there's no need to maintain or take care of it. It's just seen in its right proportion, in a sense. Yeah, it's seen with a background of a lot of space instead of filling the whole square up. Yeah, but it has its demands and its needs. Yeah. Yeah. But its call isn't like a 5-alarm fire call. It's like, hey, rub some of that fucking ointment on my knee. Stop, I gotta get my leg up. I've been on it too long. That's what happens with this leg from the getting run over, yeah? It starts swelling up, and for me to feel a little better, I need to put it up for 20 minutes. Usually it takes to have the blood run out, yeah? Yeah. Now I don't say, well, there is no Paul and there is no leg, so you know what I mean? That would be the self trying to get out of the self by being more in the self of a misunderstanding of the message. Yeah. Yeah. So take care of yourself, honey.
All right, thank you for the reminder. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Anybody else want to raise their hand? Thanks, Anu. Say something, Paul, because it's frozen on Anu's screen.
I'm frozen?
No, not you.
Oh.
Just a glitch in Zoom. That's good. Thanks. James. Hi, James.
Lebowski forgot he was asking a question.
Yeah, he did. It only took a second too for that to happen. It was amazing.
Good.
Yeah, I just no one was bothering to talk, and I just don't really have a question. I just I was a stalker of yours before all the Zooms started, and really over the past year or so since you've been doing the Zooms has really enjoyed some of this stuff moving from the head, where it seemed trapped for a long time. And but every now and then, not out of this like intense need to get out of self-seeking, but I like to, stick my toe in some new reading every now and then. Excuse me. And I know you mentioned a couple of passages from A Course in Miracles. And once again, Paul, I read A Course in Miracles for like 5 years, and then when I started watching your videos, I was able to sort of put it down, and just let it kind of coalesce a little bit, and but I started reading A Course of Love, which is, I guess, a continuation of A Course in Miracles, if you kind of can conceive of that. But it, once again, it just really it boils down into seeing what you're not, and in seeing what you're not, start recognizing what you are, which is going from the finite, to the infinite, and to the, anally constrained to the spacious. And but for some reason, reading that in other words sort of helped me understand what you've been saying over the past year in these Zooms. And I really just, I appreciate you being there, because people like me sometimes need the time to, I just started exploring non-duality in my 50s. There was a lot of programming backed up, and there was a lot of resistance to some of these ideas. It just took a long time for me to open my mind to it, and then just let it stay open and not keep shifting back into the default mode I'd created. Not my real default, but the one I'd created, And so I guess I'm just expressing my gratitude, dude. I really appreciate you being here, and to be able to keep coming back and getting the downloads, getting what
Yeah.
goes through you.
Yes. Yeah, repetition can be helpful here. Yeah, in time, repetition can have two values in a broad way. It can support the constrained, or support the expansive. Yes, it's just a matter of the intent in it. Yeah, but the repetition's helpful. So therefore, we show up seemingly, and we get together, all of us, and everyone gets a little piece of the Zoom. Yeah, and it's like the fishes and the loaves, you know. You get a whole lot out of the square, yeah, and it just keeps multiplying sometimes. Yeah, it's pretty cool. Yeah, so yes, the thing is, what happens with the repetition, you get to see the misunderstanding more. Yes, the misunderstanding, because it's not the understanding, it's the misunderstanding that needs to be highlighted. So the misunderstanding through repetition becomes more highlighted. So you can see another aspect of what you're not. Yeah? And after a while, let's say if you had a jigsaw puzzle, and maybe it's 1,000 pieces, there would be a point before 1,000 pieces that you would be able to project what it was. Maybe after 500 pieces, yes? You would be able to have a pretty good leap into what the whole thing was going to look like. You don't have to get to the 1,000 piece, yeah? Now everyone has a different piece that sets that off, but it gets set off, yeah? So you come to the talks, and there's a way of hearing it, and hopefully everyone has fallen upon a way. There's many ways, really. But what's happening is, through the recognition of a misunderstanding and what cannot understand, that becomes a basis of a real understanding. Yeah? Where you've realized you've given something an opportunity to understand, it's incapable of understanding. It can only understand from its own way. Yeah? In other words, its frame can't let go. It will take everything in but be framed by this program. That's an incredible understanding to arrive at. Yeah? And therefore, you don't spend time trying to correct the misunderstandings. The misunderstandings lead to a recognition and an understanding of a failed system. You recognize it, and it's not like, oh, screw you. Really, acceptance floods in. Yeah? So you're not in a big war. Why don't you understand? You realize it's incapable of understanding. Yes? That's the greatest understanding. So you stop relying on what's not reliable. Yes? Yes. So yeah, this is why we sit here, and people who are feeling safe enough and trust this process can share how they see something. Yeah, and then we can explore it and recognize underneath there is the falsely cast shadow of what we're not. Yeah, you can recognize, and after a while, you don't have to go through 850 pieces of the jigsaw. There's a leap. Yeah, there's a leap. Things now there's a convincing. Yes, things happen. They do here in the time. Things that weren't seemingly so can really become so in time. Yeah, in time. This is the dreaming. So for me, the understanding is really about that which that can only misunderstand. Yeah, really. So that you just move on, basically. You stop trying to feed it or put it on a super diet to get it able to understand. It's incapable of getting it. Yeah? That which is dependent and relying on two-ness can't get non-duality. There's no way. It can't understand it because it can't exclude itself. It's impossible. Yes? So that's its value. Yeah? And then the crazy shit it comes up with in response to its understanding of non-duality, which will make people who really need to take care of themselves not take care of themselves because there's no self, there's no one to be taken care of. This is a misunderstanding. Yes, it is. Based on coming from that which can only misunderstand. Yeah, it can understand, hey, you know, it doesn't understand like the statement in recovery, you have it by giving it away. It doesn't understand that. Yeah, its idea is I have it by taking it. Yeah, I get it, then I have it. No, this is you give it and then you have it. And it's even in a way, I don't agree with the statement in recovery in the big book says you have to have it to give it away. I believe if you're willing to give it away, you have it. Yeah. Now this is a different logic. It is. It's a different way of understanding. Yeah. And so how does that understanding get reinforced by seeing the misunderstanding of the failed system? Yes. So this is what we do every week. We come here and the shit that was done can be undone. Yeah? And you come to the absolute fertility of you trying to get out of self as self. That's very fucking valuable. Yeah? Because all the wiggling tightens the Chinese thumb torture. Any little slight movement tightens it. How are you going to get out of that? Not the way we understand getting out of something, through action, through fucking effort. It ain't gonna work. Yes? The more effort you try to get out of self, the more in self you seem to be. What? Yes. Why? Because those behaviors are based on a misunderstanding. The misunderstanding is that you're the doer, you're the thinker, you're the mover, you're the shaker. You can change, you can move mountains and all this shit. No, that's a misunderstanding. Yeah? Your real approach to incredible power is admitting powerlessness. What? Yeah. Defeat is the greatest victory. What? Yes. Yeah. When you stop trying to get it or understand it or have it or experience it with all, and those are all the little appliances we live as, when you're left with those devices and you have been calling them all yours the whole time they were active, when they stop, you'll see they're not yours. Yes? And then there may be a free sample of you are what you're looking for. Not based on any achievement or finality or going through 50 Herculean tasks. You are at all times, right where you are, no matter how you, as what you're not is, you are what you're looking for. That's a fucking very clear understanding. Yeah? Therefore, all looking for it's probably not going to work. That's an incredible understanding. Yeah? And so what does it do? It brings out the misunderstanding that we've lived under. Yeah? Now, like Ramanas just said from that stuff, it's not anything new. There's a discarding of the old, so to speak. Yeah? And then the forever new becomes available and obvious. Yeah? But it doesn't become obvious to the old. There's a discarding of the old. And then there's the eyes to see what's always here. Yeah? Or see from what always here. Yes? That's the flavor of it. So.
Yeah. That's why I'm getting those head nods, man. They're like involuntary because the like I said, it just takes me a little time, but the but to see to see what you're saying is really great because I was so twisted up for a while trying to use the old thought system to understand understand it, and it just didn't, and it was a huge battery suck for a long time until I don't know how to put it in my own words, but I like the phrase when you see the trap is sprung. You know, it took just a long time to just stop and go, all right, the trap is sprung, and not continue to try to use that old thought system to figure out this new way of.
Yes. See, that's its value. What would bring up the misunderstanding or the inability of the system we're relying as other than the truth? most shit supports the system. It does. It doesn't threaten it at all. It supports it. Non-duality, the message of non-duality puts it into stark contrast by the finality of you are what you're looking for. Ourselves being reality. Wait a minute, bro. Wait 1 minute. I want to be in the process of becoming reality, but hey, you're rushing me on there. Yes? This is what it likes. It doesn't matter when the person says it may take lifetimes. Fucking great. The selfing loves that. But to have it immediately right now, whoa, no way. My resume doesn't allow me to be available to that. Yes? I haven't done enough. I haven't seen enough. I haven't understood enough. No, it doesn't mean anything, that shit. All it means is hopefully you understand that you can understand. Yes? That you've experienced enough that you're never going to experience this. That's a freaking good understanding. Yeah? That this, you've tried to find it for so long, you come to the conclusion it cannot be found, hence because it's never been lost. Yeah? Yeah. That's why I love it. Non-duality has brought into contrast what loves to hide in the weeds, man. You know, it does. And it's learned how to hide in the high weeds of spiritual seeking. Definitely. Yeah. So, but the non-duality is like, does the emperor have any clothes on? Basically. You're stuck. You can't get to your wardrobe quick enough. You get to see yourself fucking naked. Yeah? Wow. Hallelujah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So you stop fucking put spiritual garb on it. Yeah. It doesn't hide the nakedness.
I have one more book I need to read. One more.
There you go. Yeah, exactly. I didn't finish it. All right. Yeah. Well, thanks, James. It's always good to see you.
Thanks, love. Eric is up next. Hi, Eric.
Hey guys, hey Paul, nice to see you. I was just gonna say, sometimes when you're speaking, it could be such a mind fuck that, sorry, lost you there. That it could be such a mind fuck sometimes that, like what you said, it's just better at not understanding what you're saying, and then I understand it.
Exactly.
It's sort of like I can only see so far, but I know that they're so much bigger than what I see. Like
Yes.
much broader than it's like I'm in a maze where there's no exit, but really I'm not in the maze. I'm actually standing outside the maze.
Yes.
I'm not in it.
But
And
you're looking through the maze to see everything. Yes.
yes.
Yes. Yeah.
But it's like the world of, like, in my big book, right? Like the world of self is going one way and the world of the spirit goes the other way. Like I'm going the opposite way of everybody. That's kind of how I see things. And I just know that there's a higher power that's just, I just turn it over and I have, like, my mind shuts off. I have nothing to worry about or care about.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful place to be for me.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's no eviction notice coming, so don't worry about it. You can rest there.
Yeah, I don't have to be stuck in my thoughts all the time.
No.
Ever, like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. See, so there's, yeah. One of
I
the
could have,
parts,
like,
the message is.
no, I was gonna say I had a guy in the car with me before, just when I came on, and I was dropping him off, and he had no idea. Like, it was like so mind-boggling about what you were talking about. It's a different language, It's like, but you got it. Like, I liked what James said. This is something that you practice and you keep, reprogramming your mind, right, to understanding this thing, which is something that you can't understand.
Well, understanding that, yes.
Uh-huh.
See, what can a limited system show you? It's limited. Yes, that's valuable because we're on a lot of assumptions that don't really hold any water. Yeah. So
Yeah, my favorite line.
this is the easier, softer way of going under a broad inventory, so to speak. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, my favorite line that you always say is false evidence appearing real. It's like these stories that my mind's always constantly telling me or is not real. I mean, it's not really what's happening.
But also what they're appearing to is not real in a way. You
Mhm.
see, it's the mental Eric and the mental Paul that's taking false evidence to appear real.
Yeah, claiming it. Yeah.
The spirit is just a space for all that. That's all. But the head is because see, the head is the representative of false evidence, yeah? And so therefore obviously false evidence appears real to it because it's in a state of false evidence appearing real as it, yeah? So of course, it doesn't have the ability to discriminate true and false. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. So we have a name for it, reliance on a higher power, but really it's just not relying on self, let's say. That's really what it is.
Mhm.
Yeah. All right,
Yep.
bro. Thanks. Let's
Thanks,
go.
Paul. Thanks, buddy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thanks, Eric. Brandon is up.
Yeah, I just wanted to share something with you and with the group about the understanding I had recently. I don't know when, a few weeks ago or whatever, caught myself trying to understand, and it seems like it's or caught what I'm not trying to understand, non-duality, and it seems like there's the understanding just for this sense of control. If I can only understand it, then I can be in control, or what I'm not can be in control. And yeah, it was just really clear that I wasn't that. And, you know, there was a decent amount of energy and attention going there that left. And now it's trying to understand things like how to be a better musician and shit like that.
Yeah.
So like practical things that are actually something that it can understand in that way.
Yes.
Because like you say, it's not the same kind of understanding. It's just not going to happen.
No. Well, it's already, even in the old days, we're warned right away. They say it's indescribable, incomprehensible. I mean, why do we think they were lying? They were just so they were hoping to have, you know. But hey, yeah.
Yeah,
I think we're comprehending the incomprehensible. Well,
yeah. I mean, I noticed it was pretty much a control thing.
yeah,
It was just that this action figure wanted to have some kind of sense of control, and that was
yeah.
kind of the bus there, and then that was seen, and so that's good.
But isn't that all really the thing is in a way? Because to it, control and security are similar. Yeah. Yes. Oh, it's now being recorded again.
That's
Wow.
never happened. It's never stopped by itself. I'm glad it told me. I wouldn't have known.
That's right. No one would have seen it. Remember, we have trouble with technology, Mike. Weird things can happen. But you know that, Brandon, it's the same in a way. That which is totally out of control wants to have control. So it's like that old desire, the desire to become and unbecome. So it has a real fear it's out of complete control. Yeah. So it has a desire to unbecome that, and its desire to to unbecome that is a desire to become in control. Yeah. So it's just like caught in its own devices all the time. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like they always used to say, you know, the one who's humble doesn't say they're humble. The real control would never say anything about control. Yes. It's just this whole, uh, there's a belief in lack, so it wants to be a glutton for more. Yes, it just goes on and on. It's a dualistic, like slinky. Yeah, one moves that triggers another move and another move, and then all that movement is the basis of a narration about a singular noun that's doing it or being done to it by it. So yeah, it's a crazy. And which came first, the narration or the slinky? You don't you don't really know, you know. Yeah.
Yeah, it definitely stems from a security thing, for sure.
Yeah, and where the real that's the real security is in uncertainty. Yeah.
Right. Right. Yeah.
Yeah. You can be secure in complete uncertainty.
Yeah. It's pretty wild.
Yeah. Well, nice to see you, Brandon.
That seems to be the only way you
I
can.
don't know how much you recorded or unrecorded. I don't know. She's gone crazy.
Yeah, it's all good. I did watch. Finally, I got to see that car video with the song.
Oh yeah, check it out. Is it? I think it's up now. Yeah,
I saw it. It's just it syncs up well. What's that car from?
doesn't it? I thought it really.
What's that car from? What is that
It
from?
was. It was shot in England.
Okay.
Yeah, it's an old Toyota because I used to have an old Toyota.
Oh, nice.
I use Toyota a lot, so yeah, I thought it was very good. The music was great with it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it was solid.
Oh, good. I'm happy you're happy with it. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Is David Gilbank driving it?
You mean David?
Yeah.
No, I don't know. I didn't look closely.
Thanks so much, Brandon.
Yeah.
And Linda is letting us know that she was on another Zoom where the same problem happened.
Oh yeah? All right, good.
Maybe expect more.
So we don't have terminal uniqueness. It's happening to every Zoom.
Thank you, Linda. Michael is next.
Hey, Paul, how's it going?
Good.
So, when I guess my question, it's kind of funny that this seems to be the, topic is kind of recognizing the selfing mechanism. And from my perspective, it's things that are going on are actually recognition of this selfing mechanism, or if it's just kind of regression of selfing, just like stepping back and just kind of backing into itself, if that makes sense. So I don't know, I guess my question is, what is it like? Can you just try to describe the experience of feeling this sort of distance or separation from what you've always called yourself?
Yeah. Can you say that a little, because the lady was coming in and out of recording and non-recording?
Wait, you want me to say it again?
Not the whole thing. The thing starting out where the self is going to back into itself.
Oh yeah. So just for my own personal experience, it's I'm not at a point where it's perfectly obvious that what I am is able to see what I'm not, and by what I'm not, I mean selfing. And it seems like I might just be sort of just falling backwards in terms of my identification, like, oh, that's not me, that's not me, that's not me, but still coming from what's not.
Yes, yes,
And so
yes.
yeah, so I don't know, can you just try to describe just like what it kind of feels like, or what the quote unquote experience is of actually seeing that distance or seeing that selfing mechanism as something that's completely not you?
Yes, all right. Well, let's say it's like a tingling pause. Yeah?
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
That's sort of close to it. It's like a tingling pause, like a very alive stop. Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's more than just a feeling sometimes. Sometimes there's a declaration that it's always been this way. Yeah. It may not be in words, but it would be translated as that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, see, the seeing is always what's before everything. What gets claimed as the seeing and then is now identified as the seer. Yeah. But the seeing wasn't coming from there. The claiming of it infers that it was coming from the seer. So the light is what allows things to be seen, so to speak. Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah, so when someone has a clear recognition and then it gets claimed, and now there's someone who had that clear recognition, the clear recognition was before, and then the feeling of being the one came after, yes? Now in the story, the one now becomes before and had the clarity. But in fact, the clarity was there, and then there was a claiming, and then Paul showed up. Yeah. Yeah?
Yeah. Yeah.
You'll see that every time. And if you don't see it every time, you'll see it enough times to realize it's every time. It doesn't mean it produces any effect. That's up to us. Not us as what we're not, but us as what we are. But its effect does not have what it says is the cause. See, you're like an effect that's proclaimed to be a cause, yeah?
In what way?
This is what gets everything, this is what's very confusing, because we start as seemingly the cause, but we're really an effect, yeah? We're a mental process's effect. And so, of course, things could go pretty crazy if you had an effect masquerading as a cause. Yeah. There'd be a whole lot of feeling like you have a lot to do with a lot of shit you have nothing to do with. Yeah. You don't have to see it. The sharing of something. So we'll see what happens. Like someone said before, they don't understand. That's great. Yeah. We're not trying to bring an understanding in you. We're trying to get a message not to you but through you to what you are. Yeah. So a lot of people would say to my friends in LA, everything this guy says goes over my head. And then I told my friend, well, that's where I'm targeting, is over their head. I'm not really talking to them. I'm trying to talk through them to something, to nothing really. Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you.
See, two things can be happening at one time, because one is not of time and the other is of time. Yeah? So what you are is available. What you're not is appearance in time, and that appearance is completely conditioned by the circumstances and situations it believes it's in. So they're two different, completely different, what would you call them, strings, but they're appearing all at once, yeah? One is of time, the other is not of time, yeah? One is not appearing because it's not of time, therefore it's always appearing or always appeared, and the other one is constantly appearing, disappearing, appearing, disappearing, so on and so forth. When we talk about an unreliable or a failed system, that's exactly the right terminology. So, is that all right?
Yeah, no, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Michael. Satish. Hi, Satish.
Satish, yes?
Hi, Paul. I have a very elementary question. You say I am what I'm looking for. Can you remind me what is it that I'm looking for?
What you're not.
It's
So
like
if
a,
you hear the statement, I am what you're looking for, all looking for I am should stop, and you should look at what you're not. Yes? If I am is what you're looking for, you're not, you'll be quote unquote reminded of what you are. Yeah? As what you are.
okay.
You see it? Yeah.
Sort of,
You're
I
thinking,
think of, I'm,
Satish, you're believing there's something has to be there. It's not true. Yeah? There's nothing there. There's doing without a doer. There's thinking without a thinker. Yeah?
mhm.
There's I am that doesn't need to be looked for. Yeah? If there's an I am that needs to be looked for, the best way to look for it is by looking at what you're not. And then you'll realize looking for it had value by failing you miserably, and you'll turn to seeing what you're not, and you'll find out what you are. Yes? That's how it goes. In
Okay.
this platform.
Mhm.
Maybe someone else has a different sequence of its yogic pattern that it will tell you, but from my little being a pretzel and then unpretzeled, I'm sharing with you. Yeah? Yeah.
Yeah.
I've seen it with many people, and in my own observation, the mental logic cannot see an action without an actor. So if you didn't do it and I didn't do it, God did it, somehow there's got to be something doing it all. That's the failure of the mental logic. Yeah? Why we call things that are really, really true paradoxical, because we're trying to understand it by a failed system. So the way truth can appear seems paradoxical to a fucking failed system that won't admit it's freaking failed.
Mhm.
Yeah? So it calls something it doesn't understand paradoxical. It's not paradoxical. That's it by giving it away. By forgetting yourself, you're reborn. All these statements are exactly the same thing. St. Francis says it's in self-forgetting that you're fucking reborn. What? Yeah. Yeah. Now some people believe, well, St. Francis is talking to a singular thing. No, he isn't. He's making a statement with a very bad pointer called language. Yeah. So it's we that jump to it. So there's someone that's looking for the I am. No, there's looking for what's looking. Yeah? That's what the failed system does. It looks for what's looking in all the fucking wrong places. Yeah? Now, do you want to go through 800 of them or maybe learn by 50 of them? Yeah? So, yeah. So what happens? A branch of non-duality goes the negative way. They negate what we're not, because from their experience and their observation, it doesn't do any good to keep affirming what you are when what you're not's claiming to be the one that's affirming what you are. That would just be affirming what you're not even more. Yeah? So they realize there's something going on that we can't use the way of, all right, you're a lion, that's that. Yeah? No, because there's a sheep programming that's claiming the message you're a lion and translating it to fit its sheep programming. I can become like a lion. This needs to be pointed out. Yeah? You need warnings because the lion is going to be claimed by the sheep. The young lion showed its reflection in the pond. The parable ended. But what happened? The young lion forgot in 3 minutes and took itself to be a sheep again. Yeah? As soon as the old lion split, it went back to fucking chewing cud and worrying about being next year's sweater. Exactly. We need warnings about what happens when the lion hears the message, it's a lion. There's going to be the sheep program's going to arise and claim that to be the hearer of the message. Yeah? If you're not aware of it, you're going to be looking from it. If you're not aware of it, you're going to look from it. You're going to be looking to become a lion again from the sheep. I've seen it hundreds and hundreds of times. So we keep repeating the same so that you at least you can catch the thief the first or second time it breaks in your house. Yeah? You know what I mean? And recognize Jesus, Christ. Yeah. I thought that peak experience would have been the end of it. No. The sheep programming continues, claims to have the peak experience, and there all the pointing the peak experience was there to give has been turned into a different pointing to the big one who had the peak experience. Yeah? That's the bondage of self. It's an activity, and it's rooted in claiming. That's what it is. Yeah? And it doesn't have any areas that have a no trespassing sign. Wherever you seem to go, yeah, it will be the claiming of that. Yeah? There you have it. Yes? So, yes. Who is looking for the I am? Well, in a weird way, it's the I am. To look for itself. Very easily, if the I am became identified as what it wasn't, it would probably look for what it is, starting at the point of what it ain't, yeah? All the while, really freaking confused why it isn't arriving at where it already is, yeah? What needs to be cleared up? Do you need to have a better map to get to where you already are? No, you've got to look at seeing what's telling you you're not here, yeah? Is it you? Is it? If it's you, then fucking get on your seeking boots and fucking go hit the spiritual terrain and see where it takes you. And that will fail, and hopefully you'll be fucking willing to give up the ghost finally. Yeah? And when you do, it will say nothing ever freaking happened. It's always been this way, always will be this way. Nothing ever, whatever happened didn't change this fundamental fact. Thank God. Yes? Yeah? We talk about powerless. Well, that's the inherent powerlessness that's our salvation. What you believe has come to pass has not come to pass. You did not do a sufficient enough terrible thing to exile yourself from the being the possibility of being what you're looking for. You have not, I have not, they have not. Yes? Yeah. Like supposedly Lord Buddha said, events happen. Deeds are done. Yet there is no individual. I believe events have to be caused by a person, yes? But in fact, events happen. Deeds are done. Well, how can there be a deed done if there wasn't a doer? Well, that's a fact. Deeds are done. Lord Buddha, I would take, I don't know. He holds a little weight in my little life story. So events happen, deeds are done. Well, where are all the people responsible for all these events and deeds? There's no individual doer thereof. What? That's totally against the narration I've been listening to seemingly for 50, 60 years. Yes, it has. Yeah. Whatever can be perceived can't be perceiving. Is that what your head tells you every day? No, it tells you the exact opposite. It says all the perceiving has been done by the perceived. It has, hasn't it? How diametrically off can you be? You hear one statement by Huang Po, whatever can be perceived can't be perceiving. Then you hear zillions of statements going on all day, every day in your head that's based on the exact opposite. That is, it is the perceived first that's perceiving. Yes? I mean, that's incredible. That's like Bizarro World in DC Comics, yeah? It's like the Stein, you know, when George Costanza in Seinfeld, he started to tell the truth to people and he started getting dates. I live with my mother, I have no money, I'm not working, and then fucking everything worked out. He got the babe. He's like, what? I'm going to do the exact opposite. This is sort of exactly like it. We're in the state of doing the exact opposite. Yeah? We're looking for what can't be found. Thinking based on, it's incredible. I love this. This meaning is being terminated. Square number 3, page 4. You've come to too many of these. Stop coming. Moving along. There's going to be another termination shortly. I have the X-ray donation machine. I'm seeing who has and who hasn't donated, and you're in a hell of a fucking lot of trouble. Yeah, you see it? Yeah.
I'm looking forward to see how the combining the segments ends up sounding.
I want to say this again. See what comes up when you hear the statement, events happen, deeds are done. Yeah? We believe there's deeds, yes, and events, yes? But surrounding deeds and events, there's a lot of other beliefs. And the second part is what disturbs those beliefs. There's events happen, deeds are done, yet there's no individual doer thereof. Yeah? We both agree events happen, deeds are done, yes? Everyone agrees to that first segment. Then the second segment, yeah, is something else. Yet there's no individual doer thereof. What do you mean? There's no doer of the deeds and there's no doer of the events. No individual doer. There's doing, yes, but there's not a doer. Verb, noun, yeah? We believe there'd be no verbs without nouns. But in fact, no verb without a noun. Yeah? If something happened, somebody had to do it. God, somebody. That would be too big of an empty hole. I'd have to fill it with some fucking understanding. Yeah? Which is what? A misunderstanding. It's the same thing as Jesus, beautiful, we're in this world, so let's all feel like what it's like to be in the world that you think you're in, yeah? All right, world of lots of things. There's this incredible influencer called time seemingly playing around, yes? There's volatility in this singular, long-lasting, independent entity. I feel different fucking every 5 minutes. I feel pains that I didn't know they were coming, like in my stomach and shit. Emissions out of my anus, shit like that. But I'm under the assumption I'm the doer of all these events out here, but I don't look like I'm the doer of most of the events called Paul belching and farting and pumping blood. It seems a little weird, yes? That I'm the big doer and shaker in events and deeds, but pumping blood, I have no fucking idea who's doing that. Yeah? Beating the heart? Don't you think it's a little suspicious? Yeah. Do I feel exactly like I felt 9 in the morning as I do now? I've had thousands of feelings all day, or they've had me, so to speak. Yeah. How can you really keep this story of this singularity of Paul? Yeah. Do I look like I did when I was like 12 years old? Fucking no. You wouldn't even say, who the hell is this guy? Have you ever seen? I never graduated from high school, so I didn't go to some of those, go back and you see the old people. But sometimes you see someone you knew when they were 15 and they look like completely different people at 45. I mean, you can't even you don't even have any idea. Can you imagine keeping that story? That, oh, I'm the same person? No, there was no one. There was just events happening and deeds were being done. Yeah. And just as it is now. Yet there's no individual doer thereof. So if I believe, or there's a belief, there's an individual doer, let's not question the events and deeds. Let's ask, who is it? Who is that, maybe? Who's the individual doer? And why does his and her ownership of doing stop at the closest proximity that they seem to live from, which is this body? Because most of us aren't doing shit to keep the body alive. Yeah? I'm not pumping blood. It's not like, oh, I got to leave the meeting early. I forgot to digest that burrito from yesterday. I got to catch up. I got a pizza from Monday. Jesus Christ, I have a huge digestive backlog. I'd be overwhelmed if I was doing the digestion. Yeah? But we have such assurance that I'm the thinker. That's insane. A much more subtle activity. Yeah? Much, much more subtle, yet we have complete assurance that we're the thinker of it. And then we want to go to a metaphysical seminar and talk about all these mystical ideas when all the evidence is right here. Just check it out. Yeah? Where? Yeah? Where? Is it a fine line? All right, this is all the shit I do, and then there's shit that I may do, but I'm not sure, and then there's a big category of shit I have nothing to do with. Yeah? That's insane. Well, anyone else? Yeah?
Thank you for driving that home, Paul.
Oh, yes. Oh, no problem, bro. I mean, if you just spend a minute or two, it's ludicrous. Yeah? And some of the times we honor this shit because we think it's ours. It's not ours. Yeah? Hey, Mike, you ready?
Thanks, Satish. Paul, PK.
Hey, man. I just wanted to say, as always, man, it's great, profound and yet so practical and not premeditated what you're saying. Like when you're riffing on, stop this recording, it's just so amazing. It's almost like this fucking guy, he sent me a letter and I opened it up and it was just ripped up pieces. But that's the message in a way. This is just great stuff. I mean, the sense that, it's amazing. It's like with speech to text, unless you have perfect, diction and enunciation, speech to text often, says something completely different. But what you're saying, it's like this guy, he sent me the audio file. Well, did you listen to it? Yeah, he erased it first. It's just amazing. Like I just love it. I mean, you know what? In a way, the fact is that, like you said, if you had to memorize stuff to say and you had to prepare yourself to say it, then it wouldn't be what this is. So it's just such an, like you were saying, what really hit home for me was I have severe pain in my hips and legs too. And I was thinking about what you were saying, page 139 of the book, you place it on the hip, but then you're like, no, you use the ointment. So but I mean, so this is what I'm saying. Like, it's so practical what you're saying. It's like right in front of us. It's right there. Yet somehow we're like, it's like, okay, I want to tell you something. Okay, you ready? And you put your hand over your ears before you get to listen to it. I mean, it's just so profound, man. It's awesome. Thank you, so much for what you're doing. And you could say, well, I'm not doing it. There's somebody here that resembles me, but I'm thankful for the resemblance of all.
Thank you, bro. Yes.
You're awesome, man. It's great shit, man. It's so awesome.
The message gets through, but not the way we think it gets through.
Hey, did you ever hear of Systema? There was this
No.
martial arts I trained in. It was called Systema, and it was crazy because it's like Russian kung fu, right? It has no moves, no stances. You don't memorize anything. People would be like, well, how does it work? Well, that's the whole idea. Is if you don't have to memorize things, you don't have to do certain moves and be in a certain stance. You can just be free, and things happening, and you're there. Or seeming sense of you is there. That's what I love about it. It's great stuff, man. So
I was talking to my friend Z the other day, and Z had a fall, but he's and the same thing with me. I was in New Jersey doing some talks, and we were going to a restaurant, and there was a pothole, and the people were a little ahead of me going across the street, and I hit the pothole, and then I did a kung fu roll. It was great. They said, "What the fuck?" I had no idea, so I must have been practicing Systema because I had no idea. But when I fell, I didn't get hurt at all, and it's happened like 3 times.
Well,
it's a trip.
Like who's breathing me or who's beating the heart? Like you said, if I had to do all that shit, how the hell? I'd be incapacitated. I wouldn't be able to do anything.
And see, the point is, if in the moment, you don't know what you can do. See, because in the moment, when something rushes up to you so much, the system pretty much shuts off. And that's when the best answer comes. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I've seen it before with, we have this dog, a puppy. It's about 50 pounds, 55 pounds now. And when Amelia's son is here, the son plays it with it very rough. And the dog is used to seeing the son on the couch and running full speed and jumping right at the kid, and then hitting the top of the couch, jumping to the next chair, and just running like crazy. Well, he did it with me. And as he was coming, I did another a Chi Kung move. I just pushed him over, and he landed on the other part of the couch. But he's coming just so. I mean, I feel like there's so much before thought that's really untapped a lot, and a lot of times it's what really shows up when you're in a traumatic situation. Yeah.
Or even like now, like it's spontaneous, and that's what I love about you when you speak. It's not like you're looking at this, it's totally.
Well, yeah, because I have no. I felt when it started coming through when I was younger, the appropriate thing was just step aside and, just. And, it can't walk, so I walk to the Zoom, and we put the Zoom on, and then it does its thing. Yeah, just like alcohol couldn't go buy liquor. I had to be used to get alcohol for alcoholism. Yeah, alcoholism couldn't buy liquor. Yeah, but it sure liked it. So the same thing in a way. The higher power, or whatever you want to call it, wants to speak, but it has to speak through us. Or nature, a lot of ways, and maybe if it's an organized speaking, it has to arrive there. So it needs a body to walk over to the iPad and punch it in.
Right.
Yeah. And then basically that's the end of the body's job. And then the body, it's over, and then there's maybe urination, and then the body loiters around for a while.
What's the line? It's like, move over, Rover, and let Jimmy take over.
Exactly. It's like that. But see, the Jimmy takeover is so good for Rover. Yeah. he knows the value of Jimmy taking over. So come on, Rover. I mean, come on, Jimmy. Yeah. Thanks,
No, it's
bro.
great, man. Well, thank you, man. Again, I know that everybody here too, it's like, it's hearing the message. It's just such a
It's sort of like a dualistic head. The recording is starting. The recording is stopped.
Well, didn't you say something about like remember the movie 2001 Space Odyssey where you had said, Hal, do not compute.
That's right. Hal took over. Yeah. Hal
This,
got full of himself.
this
Yeah.
message is making me ponder my existence.
That's right. I think I'll kill humans. All right, bro.
Thank you, brother.
Love that movie. It's a great movie.
Thank you, Paul
Yeah.
and Clifford. Hi, Clifford.
Oh, Clifford. Coming from Chiang Mai. Wow.
Do you hear me?
Yes, we hear you.
Ah, cool. That's right. My partner who's sitting there about 10 yards over there, I said, do you hear me? She's gone, yes. Yeah. Thanks, Paul, for what you say and what you do and for delivering the message undiluted. I just had a couple of observations recently about, I think a few weeks ago you were talking about this sense of fraudulence that appears, and I've always been kind of conscious or semi-conscious of this sense of fraudulence in me, and I don't know, it just occurred to me that it's probably the most authentic feeling that I have.
Yes.
Because it's like, it's what I'm not, thinking about what I'm not.
Yes.
And it's and just to own that, it's like, fucking hell. It's like admitting I'm an addict.
Yeah.
Of a holding of it at one point, rather than running away from it. Not many people have told me that. They just say, "Oh, let go." But I think at some stage it has to be held.
Yes. Yes. Yeah, you can't let go without holding things.
Yeah, and it's like if that sense of fraudulent, like if I've got this conscious, even when I was working steps, I felt I had this voice saying, "You're not working them properly. This is a 65% step 4, and a 35% step 5. You're not telling him everything." And I thought that was the authentic me. And I don't know. It occurred to me.
There's no me that's authentic. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like.
Yeah.
But it's like the policeman thief thing. It's this is the authentic you, and then it's, well, you're a fraud. The policeman thief thing carries on like forever.
Yes. Yes.
And I don't know. Something occurred to me recently, and you've mentioned it a couple of times about artificial intelligence. And it seems like from what you're not, spirit or wisdom or truth or whatever we call it, it seems from that perspective that seems artificial. But artificial intelligence is like it just observes what's happening, and then the people come in and make conclusions from it. That's like spirit and the head. And it's just an analogy that's kind of worked for me. I can just observe what's happening. I don't have to form a fucking opinion, because the opinions don't stop either. They'll justify or deny, or they'll just or send me to fucking take drugs or something. It's not that I feel. So from the head perspective, spirit or wisdom seems artificial. Like when I first come to NA and they said, we were powerless. That seemed ridiculous. It seemed absolutely ridiculous. And now it makes total sense.
Yes.
That in the admission, it led some power in.
Yes.
It just did, and I couldn't think my way into that situation. you know, I was a bit upset at first that I'd never thought of the 12 steps. You know, I thought someone of my intelligence could come up with this or improve it slightly. And but it seems they're ideally placed path to show you that there's no path.
Yes, that's the point. So
Yeah.
that's why, let's say someone, like my experience with AA. So when I was out there, basically I had a strong drive to avoid everything. Yeah. So if my left arm was bleeding, I would just look right as long as I could. Yeah. I would just, that was the strategy that had me captured. So I got in AA, and again, when I was young, I remember when they told me my father was very ill and our relationship was going to change, and it had nothing to do with me, but the only way I could feel about it was, what did I do to cause my father not to want to play with me anymore? Yes, this is that self-centeredness. And so I felt incredibly responsible for a lot of shit. So I wanted to get out of that, so I got loaded and was bad, and that gave me a freedom from responsibility. So being such a, and it's a day of reckoning. I have to, you don't have to, but if you want to get some relief from this drive to constantly escape what you can't escape from, you have to look at your role in things. You got to see it. Yeah? Which is the last thing, that was the last strategy I had, because I thought before I had a huge role in everything, and therefore I didn't want to have any role in anything. Yeah, so then I did an inventory, and I learned the first time I didn't see my role in it. The second time I did one, I did. And then, all right, so now I realized not wanting to be a fraud made me feel like a fraud thousands of times. I started to see the failure of the system, yeah? And so I owned up for shit. I'm owned up that I'm a taker, I fuck people over, all this shit. I let everything land as best I could. And instead of killing me, it was, it relieved me, because as soon as I let this shit I was trying to make unreal be real, I saw it was unreal, finally, truly. While I was trying to make it unreal, it was as real as ever. But when I let it be as real as it wanted to be, it showed me to be unreal. Now, I was brought there. I wasn't looking for that place. But I went through this circuitous route, and I feel that's what happens with a lot of people. So a lot of people have sought through spiritual mechanisms to try to get somewhere, and it's failed, basically. And the way it was misunderstood was, we thought, well, that means more. I got to do more. I got to do it longer. I got to do it better. I got to do it more. Yeah. So that the real value would be in recognizing it's failed, or the real value in an understanding is that you can't understand. Yeah. What you are. It's impossible. You'd have to be something else to understand it. And you can't. Yeah. Because you are that which you wish to understand. That's the dilemma. That's the misunderstanding. You believe that I can do and have myself into being what I am. You already are being what you are. That's what's flying over the fucking outer side of the radar. Because we just don't think we look like someone would look like if they were being what they are. Well, you can look any way you freaking want while being what you are. Because how you appear has nothing to do with what you are. Truly, nothing. And I found that with my own experience with these talks. I showed up, realized that this thing will come through no matter what my condition is. Where I thought my condition would make the talks conditional. Either I'm feeling great and then I'll be able to give a talk, or if I'm not feeling great, I won't be able to give a talk. It had nothing to do with me. Yeah? If I was willing to sit, something came through. That was based on a misunderstanding. That got cleared up. How are you going to have a clarity, because the only point of an understanding when you are what you're looking for is to have an understanding of the misunderstanding. Yeah? To be clear, you can't get it. To be clear, you can't experience it. To be clear, you can't find it because you can't lose it. Being is a nature all on its own. It doesn't demonstrate any effort or thought being what it is. Just see that it failed. It ain't.
No.
Yes. Non-duality is not an understanding. It's not at all.
No.
It's being. It's a present tense.
So from the head perspective, spirit or wisdom seems artificial. Like when I first come to NA and they said, you know, we were powerless. That seemed ridiculous. It seemed absolutely ridiculous. And now it makes total sense.
Yes.
That in the admission, it led some power in.
Yes.
It just did, and I couldn't think my way into that situation. You know, I was a bit upset at first that I'd never thought of the 12 steps. You know, I thought someone of my intelligence could come up with this or improve this, like, and but it seems they're ideally placed path to show you that there's no path.
Yes, that's the point. So
yeah,
that's why, let's say someone, like my experience with AA. So when I was out there, basically I had a strong drive to avoid everything. Yes. So if my left arm was bleeding, I would just look right as long as I could. Yeah, that was the strategy that had me captured. So I got in AA, and again, when I was young, I remember when they told me my father was very ill and our relationship was going to change, and it had nothing to do with me, but the only way I could feel about it was, what did I do to cause my father not to want to play with me anymore? Yes, this is that self-centeredness. And so I felt incredibly responsible for a lot of shit. So I wanted to get out of that. So I got loaded and was bad, and that gave me a freedom from responsibility. So being such and it's a day of reckoning. I have to, you don't have to, but if you want to get some relief from this drive to constantly escape what you can't escape from, you have to look at your role in things. You got to see it. Yeah? Which is the last thing, that was the last strategy I had, because I thought before I had a huge role in everything, and therefore I didn't want to have any role in anything. Yeah. So then I did an inventory, and I learned the first time I didn't see my role in it. The second time I did one, I did. And then, all right, so now I realized not wanting to be a fraud made me feel like a fraud thousands of times. I started to see the failure of the system, yeah? And so I owned up for shit. I'm owned up that I'm a taker, I fuck people over, all this shit. I let everything land as best I could. And instead of killing me, it was, it relieved me, because as soon as I let this shit I was trying to make unreal be real, I saw it was unreal, finally, truly. While I was trying to make it unreal, it was as real as ever. But when I let it be as real as it wanted to be, it showed me to be unreal. Now, I was brought there. I wasn't looking for that place. But I went through this circuitous route, and I feel that's what happens with a lot of people. So a lot of people have sought through spiritual mechanisms to try to get somewhere, and it's failed, basically. And the way it was misunderstood was, we thought, well, that means more. I got to do more. I got to do it longer. I got to do it better. I got to do it more. Yeah? So that the real value would be in recognizing it's failed, or the real value in an understanding is that you can't understand, what you are. It's impossible. You'd have to be something else to understand it. and you can't. Yeah, because you are that which you wish to understand. That's the dilemma. That's the misunderstanding. You believe that I can do and have myself into being what I am. You already are being what you are. That's what's flying over the fucking outer side of the radar. Because we just don't think we look like someone would look like if they were being what they are. Well, you can look any way you freaking want while being what you are. Because how you appear has nothing to do with what you are. Truly, nothing. And I found that with my own experience with these talks. I showed up, realized that this thing will come through no matter what my condition is. Where I thought my condition would make the talks conditional. Either I'm feeling great and then I'll be able to give a talk, or if I'm not feeling great, I won't be able to give a talk. It had nothing to do with me. Yeah? If I was willing to sit, something came through. That was based on a misunderstanding. That got cleared up. How are you going to have a clarity? Because the only point of an understanding when you are what you're looking for is to have an understanding of the misunderstanding. Yeah? To be clear, you can't get it. To be clear, you can't experience it. To be clear, you can't find it because you can't lose it. Being is a nature all on its own. It doesn't demonstrate any effort or thought being what it is. Just see that it's failed. It ain't. Yes. Non-duality is not an understanding. It's not at all.
No.
It's being. It's a present tense